A 1998 Power Blue Ford Taurus isn't anyone's favorite choice of vehicle, but it was what I went end up choosing at the lot. It wasn't a bad car, not for being many miles, recently replaced tires, and it was cheap. My only real complaint is that the previous owner had seriously gone overboard with the air fresheners, and the whole interior reeked of vanilla and pine. The dealer, a real nice guy, said that he was cutting me a deal and told me that they were having trouble moving ones off the lot. Explained that no one seemed to be interested. I guess I'm less than picky than average, because the car looked fine to me, so a check and a handshake later, I was driving home. That's when the strangest of strangerness have started. I hadn't noticed during the complimentary test drive that I had been given, but there was a lump in the paddling of the seat, right in the middle of the small of my back. It wasn't enough to make me driving uncomfortable, so I assumed that it was foam one was coming loose under the fabric and let it go. The car was a decade old. After all, for about 2 weeks I drove the car like that to and from work, picking up groceries and stuff like that. The lump then pushed to the back of my mind, and I had gotten so much used to it, but then it moved. At first I thought I was imagining things. Foam paddling doesn't seem to be squirmed around. Obviously, it just had been the slightest feeling on my back, just to set me off, but no. I kept driving it and became clear that the seat had shifted, but definitely it felt different against my spine. At this point, I thought that maybe this was I was wrong intentionally with the seat, that something was wrong. But that made me the loose phone home have shipped and shifted when I got close to the car. Once I got home, I decided I would examine it for more detail. By the time I was in my driveway, the lump downright irritating, I looked out of my seat and began to grab the rope and the fabric with my fingers. Whatever was in there, I quickly noticed there wasn't any foam padding. It was consistently was thicker than foam, more gelatinous or something. And there was hard pieces inside that almost felt like stone. I couldn't make out it at the time, but the shape of the whole thing was familiar too, confirming my suspicions. I also noticed for the long seam to be in the seat that someone had to stitch up. A previous owner must have stuck something in there, and I hoped back in to take my car back to the dealer to complain. This was the sort of thing that salesmen shouldn't tell you. You know, maybe they just didn't know about it. I hadn't seemed it at first either. I was about halfway to the dealership when the thing on the seat began riffing around, not shift like before, but actively crawling beneath the fabric. If you can imagine feeling something worming its way across your lower back, you could probably replace my reaction. The number on the speedometer was doubled. I nearly ruined when those nice, recently perfect replaced tires swerving onto the dealership's parking lot. It didn't take too long to find the man who had sold me the car and have at least less time to grab him by the shirt and sleeve and stammer out to what had happened. He was surprised about my story, but strangely receptive, more than I would be if some punk teenager started rambling about squirming car seats, and came back with me to the car, pulling out the pocket utility knife as we walked. He cut the fabric of the seat open, and the stench that spewed out that literally knocked us back out of the car. But what we smelled didn't make us any of our stomachs turn, as we nearly thought we saw. Inside the seat, under the fabric, we found a half-rotten human hand. And that, my little pretties, was Hazards in Buying a Used Car, a creepypasta written by Tekkactus. I do apologize if I missaid the author's, name. I'm just not perfect with, pronouncing names. So, my final thoughts on this story? Well, this is actually a really good life lesson in a creepypasta sense. I mean, it's a good classic one. Like, I mean, this one does have a really good tense of how it is. Like, the pasta has a pretty good twist and a good setup for what it is. Like, it's not really cliched or anything like that. Like, not like most creepypastas do, but I know I kind of said that, but it's not a lost episode or anything. It's a pretty good story. Like, I mean, I could kind of understand, when it comes to buying a used car, you gotta be consistent of what you get. Like, sometimes if you get a used car, you might get it, works fine a few days, but then it, goes downhill, and then it doesn't work for you. Yeah, that's kind of the reasons why you need to, take a look at the car, give it a test drive or something before you see something wrong with the car. Although you could really understand, why the protagonist was, wondering what the squirming and all that was about. Now the half-rotten human hand that was in the car seat, and the protagonist mistakes it for foam. Now, I actually have a theory on how that hand got there. Probably the recent person who apparently bought the car, unfortunately, took it back or something, and the person who sold the car must have killed him for it. I mean, it's quite possible, to be honest. Like, I'm not saying that is true or anything, but I have a theory that it could be possible that someone's hand was, slid off, was killed or something. Like, somebody's hand was, like, severed off and put in there. So, yeah. I mean, it's quite possible because you never know what could really happen when it comes to, getting a used car. Like, I mean, you gotta look at the car for yourself and then decide how they're advertised and decide if you want to get it or not. I mean, yes, it could be a pickle at times, trying to find a good car. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I have a car, well, it's a van, but, that van's like, I don't know, 13, 14 years old, but it still works pretty good for what this that van I have is. I mean, yeah, when it comes to, when I got a new car at the time, I had to, try and see if I could find, basically figure out if the deals on the car are any good and if there's any good reviews based on the car brand. Like, yes, sometimes buying a used car would be helpful in saving money because it's cheaper than buying a brand new car. But you gotta be consistent and be careful with what you are gonna get, because you could get ripped off at times. I mean, this story does not have somebody getting ripped off or anything, thank God for that, because, I was afraid that it was going to be the case, but thankfully it didn't. So, there's definitely that. I mean, yeah. So, one thing I could definitely say that I really liked about it was the good of how it was played out. I mean, this is the kind of reason why I like this story. It actually had a good concept for what this one really is. Like, I really like how the grammar was, like, put out. I mean, I did spot a few grammatical errors, but it wasn't really a bad story at all. It wasn't really a bad story. It was actually a pretty good one. Like, I actually find this one to be, just a good creepypasta. Now, I'm gonna say it's a pretty good one, and it's on the regular creepypasta wiki in case if you guys are all, wondering about, what stories that, where I found this. It's on the regular creepypasta wiki if you want to go ahead and, take a look at the story. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good one. And I recommend you guys, go ahead and, take a look at the story if you want to. And yeah, now I'm gonna say it's, I wish there would have been maybe a little bit more to it, but with all due sincerity, the story was actually pretty good for what this one really is. Like, I mean, I personally found it to be enjoyable. I like it. To the author, who is Tekkactus, great job with this story. I mean, there were maybe one or two grammatical errors I've seen, but other than that, it was still a pretty good pasta. I mean, I still found this one to be enjoyable. I mean, it's a pretty good one, and I honestly found it to be, amazing. I still find it to be, pretty good. I actually like how the sentence structuring was laid out and everything. Really wish it could be maybe just a bit longer. But other than that, it was a pretty good story. So, I mean, there's definitely that, but other than that, the story itself was actually pretty good. So, yeah, I guess I'm gonna sit here and, say this now. Do I have anything negative that I have to say about this story? No. I don't have anything negative to say about this story. I can't find anything negative that I didn't really like about this story. I can't seem to find anything that I didn't like about it. I still find this one to be, it's a good story. I highly recommend you guys go check it out if you haven't. And I will tell you now, you will not be disappointed. So, with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm going to sit here and, wrap up the review. So, like I'm going to say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's a great creepypasta. It does teach us a life lesson on what to expect when you buy a new car, or what things you should do before you buy a used car, of the good deals and all that. So there's definitely that. But other than that, I actually find this story to be, quite good, quite enjoyable, and I honestly found this one to be, amazing. So, anyways, that being the case, that being said, what did you personally guys think about this curry pasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. And don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out.